Thank you all for taking some time out of your day to join us. And we sorry for the last minute reschedule last week. There was lots going on, so we just thought it would be better to push it a week to give people an opportunity to join us. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about the different ways that your group or location can sponsor rates. The first up is online orders. The quickest and simplest way for sponsors to support a group or location is online orders. If you want a group to get credit, you can direct them to your group's page and remind them to click that sponsor Reese button. If they want the Reese to go directly to a location without supporting a group, you can direct them to the location page instead. Payments can be made with credit cards, debit cards, Google Pay, or PayPal, and the order is processed in a little as 24 to 48 hours. This is a great option for sponsors who want to make a quick donation. It's fast, secure, and it gets your group and location credit almost instantly. Mailed orders is another option. For those who want to take the more traditional route, remind sponsors to send a check along with an approved Reach Across America order form, making sure that it includes your group ID and location ID. Your regional liaison team sent you customized forms when you registered this year. Using those approved forms makes processing at headquarters much faster. Processing times for mailed orders vary, so plan ahead during the busy seasons, which is right around the corner, November through January. It can take up to 8 to 12 weeks to fully process. You might does not mean you're not going to get credit for those wreaths. What mean that means is you'll see the wreath credit, the order will be in there, but it won't be fully broken out. Sometimes they have to do bulk processing as they get a little bit busier just to make sure that they're getting everything in there and accounted for, um, especially if those orders that are submitted around cutoff date. So encourage early sponsorships to avoid any delays and make sure that you always keep copy of your tally sheets and order forms in case there's any issues, things get lost in the mail, or if you want to submit your cutoff forms, you're going to need those. So always keep copies of those. If they prefer a personal touch, sponsors can also call one of our customer service agents to place the order on the phone. Make sure that they have their group and location ID handy for those calls. And those are also processed 24 to 48 hours, just like the online orders. As a reminder, a group only gets credit for wreaths ordered through that specific group page. So, and don't forget that sponsors have 60 days to make any changes. Make it a part of your routine to check the dashboard reports to track those processed orders. And lastly, and importantly, the regional liaison team is here for you. Whether you need help tracking orders, submitting forms, or simply navigating the busy season, reach out. They're always happy to help. Now let's dive into some of the exciting updates on our new website, or not our new website, exciting updates on our current website. If you haven't seen it yet, it's got a fresh, updated look. We made a big improvements to the online ordering process to make it even easier and more efficient for everyone. Most importantly, we've listened to your feedback and made several changes. We brought grade specific requests to the front of the online ordering process, making it easier for sponsors to navigate and submit grade specific requests for their loved ones. Sponsors can also now make quick changes to their orders with just one click before when they check out, which I don't know if you guys place a lot of orders online, but I'm very excited about that because it's got that little edit button. It makes it so much easier if you realize you forgot to add something to that cart. Something else we're really excited about is that sponsors can now donate directly to specific Reads Across America programs to help grow our year-round resources like the mobile education exhibit and other programs. One more thing I'd like to highlight is that the online shop now has a cleaner design, making it easier to find some of our amazing Reads Across America promotional items like memorabilia, apparel, location and group presentation supplies, and clearance and themed items. All these are conveniently located in the header menu for quick access. One thing you'll notice is how intuitive the sponsorship process is now. One of the biggest challenges over the years has been the confusion with grade specific versus in memory and honor of. And with this new update, it really helps clear that up. The most important thing to remember is the easiest way to ensure your group gets credit is to always share that direct link that you are been given many times throughout the year. We hope these updates improve your experience and make it easier for sponsors to support our mission. If you have any questions or need help with this new update, just reach out to your regional liaison team. As always, they are happy to help. They love it when I tell you guys that you can always reach out to them. So now we're going to break it down step by step so that you can make sure your sponsorships get credited exactly where you want them to make the most impact. When it comes to choosing a group to support, here's how it works. If a sponsor uses a direct link to your group's WA page, their sponsorships will automatically credit to your group. This is the only way your group can receive credit for online orders, so make sure to share the direct link far and wide. Next up is selecting the correct location for wreath placement. If your group supports a single location, it'll automatically be selected for the sponsor. This makes the process seamless for them. For those groups that support multiple locations, sponsors can choose from a drop-down menu, like you can see on the screen here. The group's primary location will be listed first. And if you need that primary location to be changed, you can do that in your managed pages, or you can reach out to your liaison and just say, hey, I want this location to be first. I'd recommend putting a larger one at the top because sometimes people don't scroll down. They're going to just have it go to the first location on the list. Um, and so the group's primary location is, like I said, is listed first, and they can easily select any other location your group support by simply scrolling down and picking from it. Now, if the sponsor wants to place a wreath at a location that's not on the list, they can search for and select another location from any of our participating locations. And this is especially important for sponsors who want to support your group efforts, but have a loved one at one of our other 4,700 locations and want to replace at that cemetery. Sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background. Apparently, one of my Prime Day deliveries is being delivered. Sponsors will also see important details about the location they chose, including the address, ceremony details, and grave specific request. They can see how many wreaths are sponsored and how close the location is to meeting that goal. This transparency helps them make an informed decision and feel more connected to the process. It's also a great way to encourage more sponsorships for locations that are in need of more support or that are really close to meeting their goal. So now let's explore the customization options available for wreath sponsorships. Sponsorships can personalize their order by checking boxes next to the desired option, which include grave specific request, remember wall post, paired wreaths, e-cards, or an honor in memory of requests. If they do not have any customizations, they simply click next and go on to the next step. If a location accepts grave specific request, sponsors can request to have a wreath placed on a specific grave. If a location does not accept grave specific requests, that option will be grayed out, and there's a little info button that explains that why that option is not available. For many of our sponsors, the grave specific option is why they support our mission. It's very personal for them, and we want to make sure that their loved ones are honored. So to place a grade specific request, first they'll choose who places the wreath, whether the sponsor places it themselves, or if they want to volunteer to place it for them. The only thing required for the grade specific request is the veteran's first name and last name. The reason for that is while we know we have several locations that are national cemeteries and they have lot numbers and section numbers and site numbers, we also have a large part of our locations that don't have that information. With 4,700 locations, surprisingly, the largest part of our cemeteries are small town cemeteries that I mean, my grandpa's, whenever I do his grave specific requests, I say it's by the dirt road on the corner facing the road. That is the descriptions for the grave because there's no site, section, or road number for that cemetery. And that is many of our cemeteries out there. So we don't make that required because we don't want to deter people from being able to sponsor for their loved ones' wreaths or their loved ones' grave. So the other things that are optional, if they do know it and they have it handy, is branch of service, military rank, date of birth, date of passing, and then of course the gravesite information. And while that information is not required for them, you can use the messaging system to request any missing information. We have simple little messaging tool in the Gray specific report that says missing information. It sends out an email to them. They can put that information right in there and it updates automatically on your end. So it's a great way for them to be able to honor their loved one. We don't lose those donations, and then you guys can easily communicate with them to get any information that you do need in order to ensure placement. Our pairs are a great way for people to participate in National Wreaths Across America Day and also show their support at home or send it as a gift. The Patriot Pair is $34 plus shipping, and this option includes a sponsored wreath that's delivered to the participating location they choose, plus a personal remembrance wreath, which is the same as the wreaths that are placed on the grave. It's just a wreath with a red bow, and that's sent to the address that they choose. The military pair is $38.50 plus shipping, and that includes, again, a sponsored wreath that's delivered to the participating location that they choose, um, and along with a military tribute wreath, which is delivered to the address that they choose. And that military tribute wreath has the military branch that they picked, that flag, along with the American flag and the bow. And it's a great way for people to, highlight a loved one that they know that maybe served in the military. Or they just want to show, their own support on their door that during the holiday season. And groups can take advantage of these. You will get $5 back on if you're a $5 back group, you get $5 back on the wreath that is placed at the cemetery, not on the wreath that goes to the home. And then if a 3 for 2, the same thing. You'd get that 3 for 2 credit on the wreath that goes to the cemetery, not for the one that's placed at the home. So for those looking to honor a living veteran or remember a loved one who has passed, sponsoring a wreath with a heartfelt dedication is a beautiful way to contribute to National Wreaths Across America Day. The In Honor of option allows individuals to sponsor a general veterans wreath that's delivered to a participating location of their choice in honor of a living veteran. They can also add a personal touch with an honor card that can be an e-card, or they can choose a physical card that is a $2 mailing fee. And those are only available for purchase online. Another option is to sponsor a general veterans wreath that's delivered to a participating location in memory of a veteran who has passed away. It is important to note that those wreaths that are placed in memory of, it's just a wreath that goes to the cemetery. It's not designated for anyone specific. There is no tag stating that it's in memory of. If they want that, that would have to be that grave specific request. But this is an option for people who want to honor their loved one. They can send, again, an e-card to maybe a family member of that loved one saying, hey, I sponsored a wreath in so-and-so's honor. It's going to be placed on National Wreaths Across America Day. But let's touch on the last two customization options for sponsors. So the sponsors can celebrate their veteran loved one by sharing their memory on our Remember wall. And that Remember wall is kind of attached to any of these customizations, any of the customizations with grave specific, in honor and in memory of. And it's just one more way that you can kind of add a little bit to that sponsorship that you're making. It goes up on the group page or location page, whichever one you're on. You can add a photo and a special memory post that goes on the wall, just letting people know that, why you're sponsoring that wreath. Letting someone know about a wreath sponsorship is a great way for sponsors to share the mission. An e-card is a digital card that's sent via email to inform them of a sponsor's thoughtful gift. A mailed card is a physical card. Again, that does have a $2 fee that can be sent through the mail. It's a great way companies sometimes use that at the holiday season as gifts. Instead of gifts, they actually just sponsor a wreath and then they send a card to them letting them know. And mobile text message is a quick and direct way to notify the recipients with a text message. So now we're going to cover a few tips to ensure a smooth checkout experience. Sponsors should enter their own email address during checkout. This ensures they receive their order confirmation and updates. Also, if you are a group leader or location coordinator, do not put your email in here if they don't have one. because what happens is it's linked in the system to your account. So if you put that in with different information like their name, it can actually affect the orders that you've already placed in your name because it says, oh, there's a different name in here. And sometimes if you're a location coordinator or a group leader, it will actually change the name that's on reflected on your page. So we'll have a location coordinator call and go, I do not know why this is saying, Tom Jones is the new location coordinator, and that's usually what happens. So just always be wary. Do not use your email when you're placing orders for people. Um, and for added convenience, sponsors might want to create an account to make future checkouts quicker. They can just simply log in and it saves that information. And the benefit to online orders is convenience. Sponsors can securely pay using credit, debit cards, Google Pay, PayPal. But it is important to make sure that the billing address entered matches that one associated with the payment method. You would be surprised. A lot of times we have people saying, I can't get my order to go through. I'm getting an error. And I don't know the percentage, but I know it is a large percentage of the time. It's simply they're using the wrong billing address for that card. The zip code's wrong, or whatever. It's not going to process it if it does not match up. So always make sure that they are using the correct address. Once the order is complete, a receipt will be emailed to the sponsor, and this helps them keep track of their sponsorship. I'd always recommend too, when you're telling people, kind of walking them through the process, they always want to make sure that they're looking through the item description that they have for their sponsorship to make sure that everything is showing correctly. And again, we do have that handy dandy edit button there now where they can just, if they see that oh, this isn't the group I wanted, or maybe they see I forgot to change the location, or I forgot to add the gray specific. They can just edit it. Click that edit button. It's going to take them right back to the customization process, and they can make any changes that they need. However, if they place that order and then they realize that they forgot to add a group or location and they reach out to you, just have them reach out to customer service. They do have 60 days to make any corrections if they forgot something. So now we're going to talk about a fantastic tool for tracking and boosting your sponsorships, which is that Read the Meter. We talk about that a lot. This is a visual tool that appears on your Wreaths Across America page, and it provides a dynamic way to track how many wreaths have been sponsored. As wreaths are sponsored, this meter turns green, offering a motivating visual of your progress. It's a great way to engage your community and encourage them to help you reach your goal. Your goal can be adjusted as needed to reflect your community's support. So if you set a goal that feels a bit out of reach, don't hesitate to lower it down to a more achievable target. And on the flip side, if you're seeing a lot of enthusiasm and you're getting way more support than what you thought you were going to get, consider increasing your goal to 10% or 20% just to keep that momentum going and challenge your community further. The Rhythmometer not only tracks progress, but also serves as a powerful motivator. Keep an eye on it and use it to drive enthusiasm and surpass your goals. If you happen to have a wreathometer and you have wreath sponsored and you're like, hey, my wreath is not coloring in, you don't see that green coming in, check your sponsorship goal because that's what drives that. So if you do not have a sponsorship goal for your wreathometer, it will not color in. So that's always the first place to start if you see that. And if you have any other issues with it, so you notice it's off, it's not reflecting, reach out to your regional liaisons. This is live, it should update almost instantly when you place an order. However, as we get into our busier times, we have heavier, more orders coming in. Again, it can take 24 to 48 hours for those online orders to process. And so sometimes this can be a little bit slower. But if you see any issues, reach out to your liaisons. We're always happy to help. So next, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk directly to our volunteer location coordinators, who are the ones planning the wreath laying ceremonies. If you're a group leader, this information is also great for you to know so that you can reach out and offer to help with the planning, since it truly does take a team to pull everything together for National Wreaths Across America Day. For location coordinators, early planning is essential to creating a smooth and meaningful event. By starting early, we can focus on what truly matters, honoring our veterans and engaging our community. Start by outlining every task, big or small. Set check-in dates to stay on track and keep momentum throughout the year. Having a strong team makes all the difference. So once you've pulled together a group of volunteers to help, delegate tasks and empower your volunteers to take ownership over them. This can even work for those of you who it's a family thing. If you don't have a big team of people in your community that support, put your husband, wives, your children's, assign them tasks and put them to work. Keep them kids busy. Speaking of volunteers, let's stay connected with your sponsorship groups year round. And this will help you build those long-term relationships and increase community support for your event on National Race Across America Day. And remember that corporate sponsors and local businesses, they want to support the Reads Across America mission and are happy to contribute with Wreath sponsorship, grants, in-kind donations for supplies or equipment on Wreath Day. It's also a good idea to keep your location page updated with event details and use page alerts to keep your community informed so they know what to expect. If you are a location coordinator, you probably recently got an email asking for your Wreath Day event plans with a form that you can fill that out. If you fill that form out, it's a wonderful way for us to easily capture that information for you and update your page so that information is reflected. And don't forget to use our resource page, our volunteer resource page, for all of your planning materials and templates. And everything you need is right there to make the process easier. You got your ceremony script, you got your planning guide, um, so much more. So as we prepare for Reads Across America ceremony, there are several key tasks that will ensure everything runs smoothly and honors our veterans in the best way possible. From organizing wreath placement to managing event logistics, each step plays an important role in creating a meaningful and respectful ceremony. So let's break down some of those important tasks for a successful wreath laying event. Handling grade-specific requests require careful organization and communication. You'll need to organize your grade-specific requests, which can be downloaded from the Managed Pages dashboard. Assign volunteers and communicate directly with the families, whether you're letting the families know where to pick up their wreaths or confirming that you have placed them. It's important to ensure that every request is fulfilled accurately and respectfully. If you're able to take a picture of the grade-specific request, that's always a very nice gesture and goes a long way with the families who are not able to be there themselves to place that wreath for their loved one. To send the picture, you would just go into your grade-specific report on the dashboard, click the three dots on the order, and then you can send the grade-specific photo. For more complete instructions, be sure to check out the grade-specific tutorial on that volunteer resource page. When you plan the ceremony and supplies you may need, take into account speakers, sound, music, and ceremonial wreath presenters. Remember, the ceremony can be as elaborate or as simple as you want. Be sure to gather supplies like chairs for those who may need seating, a sound system if you expect a larger crowd, refreshments if allowed. Always check with your cemetery regarding any refreshments that you would like to provide, and waste receptacles to ensure that the cemetery is left clean after the event. To keep things organized, keep your phone close in the 2 weeks leading up to Wreath Day so that you don't miss a call from the delivery driver. It's also a good idea to have a list of people you can call if you're not able to be there when the driver needs to drop off your boxes. Be sure to have enough volunteers there to unload the truck and count the boxes so that you can take exactly what's allotted for your location to avoid any issues. You'll also want to work with the cemetery staff to manage which sections get covered if you're not fully covered. So that's your rotating year after year, and eventually all the graves would get covered. And also to stage the wreaths, that your wreath distribution is orderly and helps prevent chaos, making sure that every wreath is placed respectfully. We do not want a big run for the wreaths there where everyone's, racing, trying to get the wreaths or grabbing handfuls of wreaths and running off. So it's always important to make sure that you are handling that distribution. Depending on the size of your location, you may need to decide how to manage seating, parking, and traffic flow. If your cemetery is in a congested area and parking is limited, it may help to involve local law enforcement for traffic control and to keep things running smoothly on Wreath Day. Volunteers should also know when to arrive, what their task is, where to go, and who to report to when they're finished. And don't forget about cleanup. Plan to have volunteers collecting empty boxes and trash to dispose of after your event on Wreath Day, and then also to come back to clean up the wreaths on the date designated by the cemetery. If you plan ahead, your local trash or recycle company may be willing to give you an in-kind donation to help you with the disposal of boxes and wreaths. And let's talk a little bit about wreath boxes. This was our new wreath box. You can see in this picture here. Last year, we did switch to that new rounded box, which keeps the wreaths much they don't square up quite as much as they do during shipping, so they don't have to fluff out as much. Each box holds 12 wreaths. It weighs about 40 pounds. There's handles on both sides and on the ends, so you can easily tag team it with two people to carry it if need be. And they are stacked on pallets, 18 boxes per pallet, which means 216 wreaths per pallet. And a full 53-foot truck can carry between 5,400 and 6,400 wreaths. Keep in mind that not all trucks will deliver palletized wreaths. So depending on your delivery or the equipment available at your delivery location, you may have to unload the box by box. I don't think I've ever unloaded I've never unloaded it by pallet. I've always unloaded it one box at a time. For those smaller locations, that's usually how you're going to handle that. Each wreath is handcrafted and unique. So some needle loss is normal due to the natural balsam fir used in production. So when you get those wreaths out of those boxes, if you see some, wreaths the needles falling off of it, don't panic. That's completely normal. These are live products, so that's going to happen. If you get any that are, damaged or, too many needles fell off, it's bare, just take pictures, contact your liaison and let us know. So that way we can always make sure to either send you a replacement, or if you're too close to wreath day to send you a replacement, we'll give you credit towards the next year. And we also want to always investigate to see what happened, especially if it's damaged, if the box is damaged. I mean, again, these are life products and we're using volunteer donated trucking to ship those. So sometimes things just happen. Don't panic, reach out to your liaison, let them know. They're going to help take care of it. So don't wait to the last minute to plan your wreath cleanup and disposal process. It may seem like you have time, but it'll come quicker than you think. I don't even know how it's already almost the end of October. The year just flew by. So it's going to be January in time for cleaning up the wreaths before we know it. So you want to assign a dedicated team of volunteers to handle the logistics before wreath day and the cleanup. They can coordinate the necessary supplies and reach out for donations early on. It's a good idea to connect with local waste companies ahead of time, again, and ask for in-kind donations like dumpsters, dump trucks, or recycle bins. Reach out as early in the year as you can for the best chance of securing those resources. And if they can't do it this year because maybe it's already a little bit too close to the time, go ahead and get them online for the next year. Be like, okay, can't do it this year. What about next year? Can we donate that next year? You can also get creative with recycling. Contact local fisheries and farmers because wreaths can be used for fish habitats, and goats, chickens, rabbits, all of those things love to eat wreaths. Wreaths, play with them, whatever. You can also reach out to your local American Legion to see if they can hold a flag retirement ceremony using the wreaths. After they're burned, the metal rings can then be recycled. You can also consider setting up an assembly line for wreath disassembly. Volunteers can separate the metal rings for recycling, mulch the greens with a donated chipper, and even donate the bows to schools or retirement homes for craft projects. These are just a few ideas that have worked for others. Next, make sure you just schedule your cleanup date with the cemetery staff well in advance so that you can announce it on Wreath Day and on social media to invite volunteers to join. Keep in mind that if you are at a national cemetery, you do have to follow the designated cleanup deadline, which is typically the third Saturday in January. They have not confirmed that with this yet for this year, but I do not anticipate that changing since that's what it's been for the last 5 years now. Um, it's also important to note that if the big thing is always making sure those wreaths are cleaned up before they turn brown. We do not want brown wreaths on veterans' graves. So always make sure you get those cleaned up in a timely manner. We do know that we have some locations up north that, leave them until the snow falls because they can't get to them. That's fine. As long as you're communicating that with your cemetery and they are okay with that, we just don't want to ever leave wreaths on a cemetery where they're, left dying. It's not very respectful. So let's not do that. For the day of, you can stage dumpsters, trailers, and trucks throughout the cemetery and tackle the sections one by one. If possible, use equipment like a backhoe to compress the wreaths to fit more into the dumpsters. And remind volunteers to wear gloves, bring tools like broomsticks or ropes to carry multiple wreaths at once. Clear communication is key when it comes to rallying support and ensuring everything runs smoothly on wreath day. One valuable resource to help with this is the dashboard tutorial or on our volunteer resource page. It's a great tool for learning how to send messages, managing outreach, and keep your community fully engaged. So let's talk a little bit about the key details you'll want to communicate. So you want to create a call to action for sponsors by sharing your current recount. That rethometer that we showed earlier, snap a picture of it, share that on social media. It's a great way to kind of get attention, call attention to it. This is a powerful way to drive donations and make sure that every veteran is honored. You also make sure that your volunteers know exactly what to do. Provide clear duty instructions, timelines, and maps, and always express your gratitude for their help. For families with loved ones, let them know when and where to pick up that grade specific wreath. And these are all things that can be done in the part of our dashboard. Um, you can also want to make sure you let them know how the placements will be handled if they're not able to attend. Plan ahead for wreath retirement. Share those details of your cleanup plan at Wreath Day and on social media, making sure to include the date and time so people know when to be there. And for community outreach, you can easily send messages through the dashboard to your sponsorship groups, individual sponsors, and volunteers. You can also mail or email invitations to elected officials, ensuring they're aware of and engaged in your event. And don't forget to include a few key logistics in your communication. Be very clear about where people should park and arrival instructions. Specify the ceremony time and when the wreath placement begins, and any other grade specific details as far like where to be, where to go to pick them up. Highlight any featured speakers, wreath distribution plans, or if refreshments will be available. These details help set the tone for the day and keep everyone informed. By keeping your supporters in the loop and being clear with your communication, you will ensure a well coordinated and memorable event for everyone. Having trouble talking today, guys. So, as a quick reminder, with National Reads Across America Day approaching very fast, it's important to keep an eye on your region's cutoff date. This is the last day that the Reads sponsorships are guaranteed for delivery for this year. This year is the first year we are doing a kind of staggered approach to those cutoff days. So, you can see here on the slide that there are Region 4 and 3 are a little bit earlier. Region 2 and 1, 2, and 5 are all the same time frame. So you want to keep that in mind as you are out doing events and sending funds in. About a week before that date, you will get an email from your regional liaison team with the cutoff form and step-by-step instructions. If you have mailed orders that haven't been processed yet, this will be your chance to get everything squared away. So watch for your inbox. And as you're preparing your orders, don't forget keep copies of those tally sheets and order forms. These are important because you will need them to submit a cutoff form. Having these documents on hand will make everything run smoothly when you're ready to fill out that form. Now, if don't worry if some orders come in after the cutoff date, because even though we can't guarantee those rates for this year, we still encourage you to send them in. Because one, if you've got checks, you don't want to hold on to those checks too long because then they're likely to bounce or change, whatever. So you still want to go ahead and send them in. We have been known to chase trucks down to get some wreaths on there if we need be. Communicate with your liaisons. We're always going to help you wherever we can accommodate any last minute, orders coming in. If you've got someone that comes up to you and says, "Hey, I saw your location was, 100 wreaths short of full coverage. Like, can I sponsor those?" And it's a day after cutoff day, please don't tell them no. Instead, call your liaison and say, "Hey, I've got someone that wants to make sure my cemetery is covered and it happens." And we're going to say, "Okay, let's see what we can do." And very rarely have we not been able to find a way to get those last minute wreaths on there. So we want to make sure that you honor as many veterans as you possibly can. So just as much as you want to get those wreath sponsorships in, we want to get those wreath sponsorships to you. So don't ever let the cutoff date be a deterrent. This is just a guideline. And again, everything that's placed before the cutoff date is guaranteed. Anything after, we're going to do our absolute very best. It's just not guaranteed at that point. Anything that doesn't make it onto the truck for this year, it's just going to give you a head start for 2025. So you still want to go ahead and send it in. It'll get applied. It'll roll over to the next year, and you're already on your way for 2025 Wreath Day. You can fundraise all year long, and we encourage that. It's a great way to ensure that all of your local veterans are honored and remembered each year. Also, don't forget to mark your calendars for Tuesday, November 12th, for our next and last educational webinar of this year, which is just crazy to believe that's already where we're at. We will not have an educational webinar in December because everyone is just a tad bit busy that second Tuesday in December, trying to make sure that all the wreaths are getting shipped out. So next month, November 12th, is going to be our last webinar of the year. So make sure you join that for step-by-step instructions on that cutoff form. So we'll walk through it slide by slide on the so you can see exactly how to submit those order forms and answer any questions about the process. So we know this time of year can be a bit hectic, but don't worry, we are here to help. If you need help submitting your orders, you have questions about the new check on website, check out the updated volunteer tutorials with step-by-step instructions on the volunteer resource page. And again, you could always reach out to your regional liaisons for support on that as well. And now we are just going to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand or you can just kind of unmute and speak up.
Excuse me, I have a question. This is
Go ahead.
Julie. Could you go over again where we go to post a picture of the grave that we have laid a wreath at? Where was that going to be under?
So when you go into your grave specific report, you go log into your managed pages, go to your dashboard. You're going to see the grave specific option report. And when you go into there, when you're on the individual grave specific, use like Bill Thomas, you see him there. You click on the 3 dots in the right hand corner, and that's where you can see those messaging options. And we do have a grave specific tutorial that kind of walks through all that on that volunteer resource page that gives you pictures step by step.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Lori, you've got your hand raised?
Yeah, thank you. First off, just the website, I just wanted to say it looks great. I had the kind of first opportunity to enter a few orders, and I think you've really addressed the issue with people getting confused between the honor and remember versus the grave specific. And it also made it very easy to select a grave specific at a different location, which was very welcome. One quirk I'm finding, and I almost hate to call it a quirk because I think it could be pretty serious, is what I've found is if and I had one of our members call, and she's 80 years old and always wants me to be on the phone with her and enter the order for her. If I go out there and process, enter an order, and I in this case it was a Patriot Pear, and I added it to the cart, and then the website gives you an option. Are you finished? Do you want to check out, or you want to continue shopping? And if I hit, continue, and I forget the exact phrase there, but she wanted to sponsor 2 wreaths for general placement, and I added that to the cart and then checked out. And I noticed that the sponsorship group isn't carrying over to the additional items in the cart. And so I noticed in looking at the order, my sponsorship group is only getting credited for the first wreath and the Patriot Pear and not the other 2. And
Okay.
I've loaded our regional liaisons, but I'm not sure I explained it in a way that was clear to them. But I'm afraid, and I know to look for that because I entered the order, and they were telling me, well, you must have left your sponsorship group site. But I can recreate this situation so and anyway, I hope it's something that's going to be looked into and fixed, because I really don't want to have to go to this 80-year-old woman who asked me to enter the order for her and have her send a note to say, I really did mean to credit all the wreaths to the sponsorship group. And it happened with orders I entered. We had a few people pay us cash at a meeting, and I went and entered the orders. And once again, the first item in the cart is credited to the group, but not the additional ones. So,
Yeah, and there's, anytime you do updates, there's always like little things that we still have to do some cleanup on. We've been, we actually just did another release today to kind of do some fine tuning on some of that stuff. And I will definitely check into that and see if I can walk through it and recreate that with our website team. I do know that we do have an audit trail. If they were on your group page and they're clicking that where it pops up that says, add, I can't think of that exactly what it says now, what you just said. But when they click on that, it should take them right back to that group page. So I will certainly check that out if it's not. And we should be able to have run an audit trail fix on that where it would pull it in. A lot of times the group IDs fall off. Not a lot of time, if they fall off, we can almost always run reports from our audit trails to be able to fix all those.
Okay.
So if you reach out to your liaison, if you don't see that fixed shortly, just reach out to them again, because they can always do an order correction, especially if there's a group ID on the first one, like it's in the same order and like part of it has a group ID and part of it doesn't. We can fix that without you having to go to her to have her email us. That's not a big deal, especially as we know we just did this. I will say one thing that I was actually just testing this out today to make sure that it was working. That is a big improvement from our website before before when you were on a group page, if someone went to the group page, they used that direct group link. They went there and then they said, oh, I want to see what location they support. And they scroll down to the locations and they go and view the location page. Then what would happen is that group would lose that sponsorship, because now they're on the location page and they're just getting that location page for that sponsorship. And with this new site, if they do that, if they wander away and they just go to click the location page right from the group page, and then they click on sponsor right there, that group page is still attached and it actually has that group ID still in there when they go through that process. So we're really excited about that, because we, really don't, we're trying to help you guys out as much as we can. However, as with everything, if they can start wandering too much and they're like, oh, let me go look at apparel, let me go over here, eventually it's going to drop off at some point. But if they do use that direct group link to go to your page, it's going to protect that a lot more. So thank you for the feedback on that. We will definitely look into that because that shouldn't be happening. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, because I was able to create it just with entering one wreath and then saying, okay, I want to add another.
And I'm following exactly what you're saying, so I should be able to go right on it and do that.
Thank
so
you.
Thank you.
And we did take
Jackie,
care of that, Lori. Oh,
Jackie, you got your hand raised?
Yes. Now, I was personally trying to add a grade specific at Fort Logan in Denver, Colorado. I'm located in Texas, and that's where our group is sponsoring. But I couldn't seem to find Fort Logan. It had, get a location, but I couldn't find it. Am I doing something wrong?
It's definitely on there. So probably just missing a step. So when you go to your group page and you click through that sponsorship process, let me see if I can find the slide that has that on there. Oop. Okay, so when you look on the slide here that I have up, when you're on your group page.
Now that's not the slide that I see.
You don't see where it says the location to place your wreath at?
Well, no. The slide that you're showing, that's not what shows up on my computer when I go.
So if you go to, are you going to your group page?
I'm going to our group page.
So when you go to your group page and you click on, this is going to be the first thing that you see here where it's going to have you pick
I-
which wreath. how
That
many
I
wreaths.
got.
Yep. So you're going to click one wreath, you click next, and then it
Right.
should go to the sponsorship group to support. And that's where you're just verifying that, yep, this is my group that I've got. You'll click next, and then that's going to bring you to this location page. If you're not getting through that, then somehow you're not on your group page. I'm going to recommend that you reach out to your regional liaison so that they can walk you through step by step, because Fort Logan's definitely on there for very specific. So, and that's probably a better way so we can get to some of the other people's questions as well. Reach out to your liaison and let them connect with you and just walk you through that step by step so they can help you with what it is you're missing.
I thought I had, and I sent them an email and I haven't received an answer.
Okay. What state are you in?
Texas, we're in 3.
Okay. I'll have I think Stephanie's on here too, but they'll reach out to you. They'll reach out to you today to connect with you to make sure you've got those instructions. Okay.
Yes, Jackie, if you send us an email, we'll be happy to help you with that.
Can you give me your email just so maybe that's the problem, I don't have the right one?
Sure, it's region3, REGION, the number 3, at wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Okay, I believe that's where I sent it, but I'll check.
Thank you. We'll
Thank you.
keep an eye out for it.
Okay.
Thanks, Jackie. All right, Damon, you've got your hand raised.
Yes, I do. I have I looked as just to sponsor a wreath, and when I do that and I select my group, comes down to the cemetery, and it shows that there's 305 wreaths have been placed. Yet when I go to my site, it shows 0.
When you say your site, do you mean your location?
My particular location website, yes, it shows 0.
But your group is showing 300 wreaths?
That is correct.
Okay. So without being in the system and actually looking at it, I would say what's probably happening there is if you go into your report for your group, that's where you should be able to see what location those orders were sponsored to. Either they didn't go to the right location, or they're in the location, but the wreathometer is just showing 0 on your page?
Well, my true representative is not here today, but when I go to the specific cemetery, and that's the only one that we are sponsoring, it shows that there are 305 wreaths. Yet I go to my website that y'all have created for us, it shows 0.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe the people sponsored them through the location, but not the group. What state are you in?
Alabama.
Alabama. Okay, so I'm going to have you reach out to your Region 2 liaisons because they can kind of, again, get in that dashboard and take a look at that and see what's going on and help you out there. Because again, without me being logged in there and looking at that, I am not much help. So theirs is Region 2 at wreathsacrossamerica.org, and they will probably pop their email in the chat for us for a quicker way to contact them.
Will they be able to give us credit for those?
They'll have to take a look at it to see what it is. If it's orders that your group placed and maybe the group ID fell off or whatever, they can take a look at it and figure out from there. If it's people who just went on and sponsored wreaths for the location but not necessarily for your group, then the location would get credit for it, but the group would not. If it's sponsors that you collected and sent in, we can definitely figure out what's going on there.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Hi, Julie. I have just a thought that I'd like to, asking if maybe something could be occurring in the future. I had a occurrence which I had contacted Tara and Emily in reference to the person had purchased online 5 different wreaths and sponsored different wreaths and didn't get a like a response or a receipt, from from the online order. It ended up in spam. And then because she did this earlier on in the summer and stuff, during the summer, I don't actually check as much, I admit. And, but I was asking the question, you know, when we go in the messaging to say thank you from our end, from our location or from our group, we would, like, we don't know, unless we keep constantly in there, if somebody sponsors, I wouldn't know. In the future, do you think there's some way that there would be like a notification system? You know how we get notifications for a lot of other things, where like if something was added to it, we could turn it on if we want it, you know, to be notified that something was going on? Or could we have an automatic, like a thank you coming from the location or from the sponsoring group that would be sent to them? Thank you for sponsoring to our group. Something simple that you would approve of that would automatically go to them. Is that something that we could think about in the future? Because that would be helpful. Because for me, most of mine are mail-ins. So right now spending a lot of time on the mail-in part, you know, which is understandable for my large group, and I respect that. But so I feel like I'm falling behind on those that are online. And then if I do it today to tell them thank you, and then I go next month and do it, the whole group's getting it all over again. Not that's a bad thing, but it's sort of
Yeah, which now
duplication.
you can send it individually, like in the research orders,
Yeah,
you
but
can
if I
send it
have,
individually, but like, yeah, if you have a bunch,
yeah,
it's gonna
yeah,
be, it's gonna be very
that's a
timely.
lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing that I have actually, we've already asked for, and I'm not making any promises
No,
because this
I
is
know.
it's a whole thing. But one
Yeah.
of the things that we do have planned for future development, which we're hoping to do a release for the managed pages next year.
Mhm.
And it's the way for you guys to be able to customize your individual those messagings, like the volunteer messages that go out,
Right.
and to be able to have some more of that like automated like messaging, thank you messaging for when people sponsor Reese. So that is definitely
That would be
something that
great.
is we've talked about as well, that we would like to have. As far as the notification for the orders, we've had people request that, and we've looked at it, and I don't know for sure because there's really a lot of pros and cons.
Trickiness to that.
For some of our larger group locations that get tons and tons of sponsorships,
Yeah.
there would obviously have to be a way to either opt out or opt into those
Yeah.
notifications. So it's something that we have talked about. Don't know if that would happen or not, but we do have some things in place that we want to put out there for you guys next year to kind of refresh that and give you guys more customized messaging options
Good.
for that. So I think
Okay.
that that'll make it a little bit easier for you
Little
guys, because
easier.
yeah, it's hard when you're doing other things and
Yeah.
trying to keep up with telling everyone
Yeah.
thank you. So
Yeah. But I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Julie.
yeah,
Okay.
you're welcome. All right, does anybody have any other questions?
There is some questions in the question and answer box. Jane had a couple of questions.
You want to read them so I
Yep.
don't have to sort through them? Yeah.
It says, can you clarify something, please? Last year, our group sold 60 plus grade specific REITs. We mapped them out and assigned placement to our volunteers. However, on placement day, probably 80% of our markers already had REITs placed. Is there a group within our cemetery group that places the REIT specific REITs for multiple groups? We didn't specifically ask for additional assistance on placement day. Thanks. She also,
So,
oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'll get to that part and then we can expand on it. So there's a couple different things there. If a group is supporting your location, if those grade specifics happen to come through their group, they may have just taken some initiative to place them themselves. Again, this is where communication is really key. If you are sharing, communicating with all the sponsorship group and sponsors as far as like where to come for grade specifics, that kind of helps alleviate that, because they'll say, hey, these are where the grade specific wreaths are going to be held for if you want to pick them up to place them. Another thing that people will do is they actually will use markers, maybe like a little flag, or I've seen people actually like make little signs that say, someone's coming to place a loved one's coming to place this on this grave today, so that someone won't come and place it for them. However, if it's just your group, they're just general grade specifics that you're placing, and it's not like individual family members that are wanting to place them on a loved one's grave, I would just say, okay, great, these were already placed, so we'll just go and place them on other graves that didn't have wreaths. Because when you have an open wreath laying, there's sometimes going to be wreaths placed on those graves unless they are marked off for people to not place them there. But the only time they really should be marked off is if it is for loved ones specifically who want to place them there. Otherwise, I would just let the general public place them and then fill in the rest that didn't have them. What was the next question, Anna? I think I
She
answered that.
said, yeah. Also, at an earlier webinar, we were led to believe that placement of grade-specific wreaths wasn't actually required, that we can do what our volunteers are able to do, and further that linking photos to the sponsors was also optional. What is the requirement for our group in this area?
So grade specific is completely, it's up to the individual location coordinators. If you are not able to honor grade specific requests, that's fine. You just have to turn the option off, or communicate with your liaisons so that they can do that. Same thing with the photos. That's an additional item that you can do if you're able to. It is not required. Someone may request one, and if you can't do that, then you just say no. Now, a lot of times, if you have sponsorship groups who are working with your location, if you have a sponsorship group that's like, hey, we will do that. I mean, at Arlington, we have a CAP group that actually does the grade specific photos for us. They'll go out and they offer to take the photos and send the emails and stuff. Obviously, it's a larger location, so it gets a little hectic, but it is all optional. It's up to you, but if you have the support there with sponsorship groups, I would utilize them if it's not something you feel like you're able to do on your own. Was there any other questions, Anna, or was that in the chat?
It was in the chat. She responded, we were told that grade specific is not an option that can be turned off for a cemetery in Fort Snelling, Minneapolis. So she's a group leader, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, so if you're at Fort Snelling, so the location coordinators are the ones that are going to be able to have that say. So if the location coordinator is the one that coordinates those grade specific wreaths. If you're the group leader and you're taking grade specific requests, you're not required to place those. That location coordinator is handling those. If you want to place them for your group that's placed, just reach out to the location coordinator and communicate with them that you would like to place the wreaths, the grade specifics that come through your group. But yes, that option is left up to the location coordinator's discretion.
That's all the questions.
Thanks. Anybody else got any other questions? All right. Well, if no one else has any other questions, I want to thank you all for joining us today. We will have this recording available on our volunteer resource page where you can watch it later, and you can also see the slides there. Also go to YouTube, look at our other channel our other video webinars that we recorded. We have lots of information over the years that kind of breaks down many different things on our website and the managed pages in the dashboard. And again, that volunteer resource page is a great place to get all kinds of tutorials, presentation items, all kinds of stuff. So thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you all again next month.